Hello, and welcome back to the True Crime Lounge, where we talk murder and other forms of true crime. I know the lighting is terrible, but I am in my living room instead of my room today, so just bear with me and not. You can just listen, if you want to do that. But today we are going to be talking about the case of Bruce Pardo. I do have a YouTube channel that you can go and check out as well. I also have a Patreon that you can join, and by joining, you will receive early access to episodes scheduled to come out. I do work two jobs and I'm in school, so this episode is pre-recorded. Um, Figured I'd get that out of the way. But, um, you can also go check out my merch shop and get something from there. I know you have a true crime lover in your life. For any updates, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I do check my messages, so if there's a case you want me to do, feel free to message me. With that out of the way, let's dive into today's episode on the TCL podcast. For episode 4 of our mini series, we will be Christmas murders. We will be discussing the case of Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, aka the Santa gunman. Pardo was a mass murderer with at least 9 known victims on December 24, 2008. His victimology was 5 women and 4 men. His methodology was shooting and fire. He committed suicide by shooting himself the same day. This became known as the Covina massacre, and this was actually one episode that I did plan on discussing. So, here we are. And the Covina massacre occurred December 24, 2008 in Covina, a city in the Los Angeles suburbs, and 9 people were killed from either gunshot wounds or arson. Fire inside a home with a Christmas Eve parade was being held. The perpetrator was 45, and his name was Bruce Jeffrey Pardo. He was dressed as in a Santa suit. While in the house, he committed suicide from a gunshot wound to his head and to his mother at a residence in the early morning hours. After the podcast, authorities have cited there was a marital problem as his possible motive for the violence, and the reports indicate that Pardo's divorce had been finalized December 18th, 1 week prior to the massacre. So, 3 people, believed to be Pardo's ex-wife and his former in-laws, officially remain missing pending identifications of the body. So, what about the attack? Well, at approximately around 11:30, Bruce Pardo, dressed up in a Santa outfit, knocked on the door of a former in-law's house occupied with 25 people, with gift wrap packages containing a handgun, homegrown, homemade flamethrower. In one was a semi-automatic handgun, in the other one he had used 3 additional semi-automatic handguns in possession. When the door opened, Pardo fired a handgun at an 8-year-old girl who had ran to greet him, injuring her in the face. That's sick right there. I love true crime, but it's the ones with the kids that really get to me. Um, But so he then fired immediately at fleeing partygoers, and police speculate that he may have stood over and pointedly executed some of the victims using the other handguns. After the shooting, he unwrapped the packages containing the homemade flamethrower and then used it to spray racing gasoline and set the home ablaze. Nine nine people died from the either gunfire or flames, and 3 others were wounded. The 8-year-old girl, who was shot in the face, was with severe but non-life-threatening injuries. 16-year-old girl who was shot and wounded in the back, and a 20-year-old woman who suffered a broken ankle after jumping out the second floor window. There was one survivor who called the authorities during the attack and escaped into a neighbor's house. The resulting fire approximately 40 to 50 feet and took 8 firefighters an hour and a half to extinguish. During the intensity of the fire, the identification of the victims have been done by referencing dental and medical records. After the attack, Pardo put on his street clothes and drove his Dodge Caliber rental to his brother's house in Silverbar, approximately 30 miles from the crime scene, where he later was found dead with self-inflicted gunshot wound. His brother was not present at the home at the time of his demise, and he was initially believed that Pardo intended to flee to Canada by plane as he had been brought to an airline ticket to Air Canada. However, it was discovered that the flight was from Los Angeles to Moline, Illinois, with a layover in Minnesota. Pardo had called days before to tell his high school friend he was planning to visit. But investigators um are unsure if he intended to go on the flight or that was to fool the investigators. He had visited the friend before in 2008. However, due to suffering from severe and first-degree burns the on his arms and stemming from the blaze, he decided to go against his initial plan. He found $17,000 in cash, clean wrapped on his legs inside a girdle inside the rental car, and he had parked 1 block from his brother's house, which was rigged by remnants of his Santa suit that would ignite a flame to detonate the car with black powder if removed. Also recovering from the scene was of 13-round capacity handguns that were each empty and they each had rounds, suggesting that there had been inside the car. They were treated as a threat, and the bomb squad fired incidentally device, destroying and burning it. At the Pardo house in Montrose, the police were recovering 5 empty boxes from a semi-automatic handgun, 2 shotguns, and a container of high-octane fuel, rank gasoline. At least 3 victims' deaths were caused by gunshot wounds alone, while 4 died from a combustion of a gunshot wound, and 2 others died stemmed from the fire alone. So what was his motive exactly? Well, police speculate that his motive of the attack was related to marital problems. Pardo's wife for 1 year had settled a divorce in a week prior. However, he had no criminal record, he had no history of violence, and he had been fired from a job as an electrical engineer that in July. There is some speculation that the divorce may have caused Pardo's concealing a child from a previous relationship. This child was severely injured in the pool accident several years previous, and the couple wed January 2006, but grew apart after their marriage when Pardo refused to open a joint account with his wife, and he had also expected that his then wife, was to take care of their own 3 children with their own finances. In June 2008, a divorce court had ordered him to pay around $1,700 a month in spousal support, and during the divorce proceeding, he had confided in a friend of taking him to the cleaners. In July, Mr. Pardo was fired from a billing false hours, and the court suspended his payments due to hardship. It is revealed that he had planned to kill his mom after the massacre at Sylvia's house, due to the apparent sympathy for Sylvia during the divorce proceeding. Pardo was required to pay Sylvia $10,000 a part of the divorce settlement, according to the court documents, and Sylvia kept the wedding ring and the family dog. In a court declaration, Pardo complained that Sylvia was living with her parents, not paying rent, and had spent lavishly on a luxury car, gambling trips to Las Vegas, meals and fine restaurants, messages, and golf lessons. I know this was a short episode, but it is the holidays, and I know Christmas can be stressful. Y'all have a Merry Christmas, and try not to kill anybody.